Episode 6. There was a loud and a strong smell of mingled drink and stale tobacco filled the air as a squat, unshaven man in a tattered overcoat materialized right in front of them. He had short, bandy legs, long, straggly ginger hair, and bloodshot, baggy eyes that gave him the doleful look of a basset hound. He was also clutching a silvery bundle that Harry recognized at once as an invisibility cloak. "Sup, Figgy?" he said, staring from Mrs. Fig to Harry and Dudley. "What happened to staying under cover?"
"I'll give you undercover!" cried Mrs. Fig. "Dementors, you useless, skiving snake thief!"
"Dementors?" repeated Mundungus, aghast. "Dementors here?"
"Yes, here, you worthless pile of bat droppings! Here!" shrieked Mrs. Fig. "Dementors, attacking the boy on your watch!"
"Blimey," said Mundungus, weakly, looking from Mrs. Fig to Harry and back again. "Blimey,
And you off buying stolen cauldrons! Didn't I tell you not to go? Didn't I?"
Mundungus looked deeply uncomfortable. It was a very good business opportunity, see?" Mrs. Fig raised the arm from which her string bag dangled and whacked Mundungus around the face and neck with it. Judging by the clanking noise it made, it was full of cat food.
"Ouch! Get off! Get off, you mad old bat! Someone's got to tell Dumbledore!" "Yes, they have!"
yelled Mrs. Fig, still swinging the bag of cat food at every bit of Mundungus she could reach.
"And it had better be you, and you can tell him why you weren't there to help."
"Keep your hairnet on," said Mundungus, his arms over his head, cowering. I'm going! And with another loud, he vanished.
"I hope Dumbledore murders him," said Mrs. Fig furiously. "Now, come on, Harry. What are you waiting for?"
Harry decided not to waste his remaining breath on pointing out that he could barely walk under Dudley's bulk. He gave the semi-conscious Dudley a heave and staggered onward.
"I'll just take you to the door," said
Mrs. Fig as they turned into Privet Drive.
"just in case there are any more of them around. Oh, my word, what a catastrophe! And you had to fight them off yourself, and Dumbledore said we were to keep you from doing magic at all costs. Well, it's no good crying over spilled potion, I suppose, but the cat's among the pixies now."
"So," Harry panted, "Dumbledore's been having me followed?"
"Of course he has," said Mrs. Fig impatiently. "Did you expect him to let you wander around on your own after what happened in June? Good Lord, boy, they told me you were intelligent." "Right, get inside and stay there," she said as they reached number 4. "I expect someone will be in touch with you soon enough."
"What are you going to do?" asked Harry quickly.
"I'm going straight home," said Mrs. Fig,
staring around the dark street and shuddering.
"I need to wait for more instructions. Just stay in the house. Good night."
"Hang on, don't go yet. I want to know—" But Mrs. Fig had already set off at a trot, carpet slippers flopping, string bag clanking. "Wait!" Harry shouted after her. He had a million questions to ask anyone who was in contact with Dumbledore. But within seconds, Mrs. Fig was swallowed by the darkness. Scowling, Harry readjusted Dudley on his shoulder and made his slow, painful way up number 4's garden path. The hall light was on. Harry stuck his wand back inside the waistband of his jeans, rang the bell, and watched Aunt Petunia's outline grow larger and larger, oddly distorted by the rippling glass in the front door.
"Diddy, about time, too. I was getting quite... Diddy, what's the matter?"
Harry looked sideways at Dudley and ducked out from under his arm just in time. Dudley swayed for a moment on the spot, his face pale green. Then he opened his mouth at last and vomited all over the doormat.
Diddy! Diddy, what's the matter with you? Vernon! Vernon!
Harry's uncle came galumphing out of the living room, walrus mustache blowing hither and thither as it always did when he was agitated. He hurried forward to help Aunt Petunia negotiate a weak-kneed Dudley over the threshold, while avoiding stepping in the pool of sick.
He's ill, Vernon.
What is it, son? What's happened? Did Mrs. Pocus give you something foreign for tea?
Why are you all covered in dirt, darling? Have you been lying on the ground?
Hang on. You haven't been mugged, have you, son?
Aunt Petunia screamed.
Phone the police, Vernon! Phone the police! Diddy, darling, speak to Mummy. What did they do to you?
In all the kerfuffle, nobody seemed to have noticed Harry, which suited him perfectly. He managed to slip inside just before Uncle Vernon slammed the door, and while the Dursleys made their noisy progress down the hall toward the kitchen, Harry moved carefully and quietly toward the stairs.
Who was it, son? Give us names. We'll get them. Don't worry.
Shh! He's trying to say something, Vernon. What is it, Diddy? Tell Mummy.
Harry's foot was on the bottommost stair when Dudley found his voice. Harry froze, foot on the stair, face screwed up, braced for the explosion.
Boy, come here!
With a feeling of mingled dread and anger, Harry removed his foot slowly from the stair and turned to follow the Dursleys. The scrupulously clean kitchen had an oddly unreal glitter after the darkness outside. Aunt Petunia was ushering Dudley into a chair. He was still very green and clammy-looking. Uncle Vernon was standing in front of the draining board, glaring at Harry through tiny, narrowed eyes.
What have you done to my son?
He said in a menacing growl. Nothing, said Harry, knowing perfectly well that Uncle Vernon wouldn't believe him.
What did he do to you, Diddy?
Aunt Petunia said in a quavering voice, now sponging sick from the front of Dudley's leather jacket.
Was it you know what, darling? Did he use his thing?
Slowly, tremulously, Dudley nodded. I didn't, Harry said sharply as Aunt Petunia let out a wail and Uncle Vernon raised his fist. I didn't do anything to him. It wasn't me. It was... But at that precise moment, a screech owl swooped in through the kitchen window. Narrowly missing the top of Uncle Vernon's head, it soared around the kitchen, dropped a large parchment envelope it was carrying in its beak at Harry's feet, and turned gracefully, the tips of its wings just brushing the top of the fridge, then zoomed outside again across the garden.
Owls!
Bellowed Uncle Vernon, the well-worn vein in his temple pulsing angrily as he slammed the kitchen window shut.
Owls again! I will not have any more owls in my house!
But Harry was already ripping open the envelope and pulling out the letter inside, his heart pounding somewhere in the region of his Adam's apple.
Dear Mr. Potter, we have received intelligence that you performed the Patronus charm at 23 minutes past 9 this evening in a Muggle-inhabited area and in the presence of a Muggle. The severity of this breach of the decree for the reasonable restriction of underage sorcery has resulted in your expulsion from Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Ministry representatives will be calling at your place of residence shortly to destroy your wand. As you have already received an official warning for a previous offence under Section 13 of the International Confederation of Wizards Statute of Secrecy, we regret to inform you that your presence is required at a disciplinary hearing at the Ministry of Magic at 9 a.m. on August 12th. Hoping you are well. Yours sincerely, Mafalda Hopkirk, improper use of magic office, Ministry of Magic.